The tiny builders are back at their busy construction site. And today, they have the biggest challenge ever. They're building a giant toy house. But wait, this isn't an ordinary project. Instead of real tools, they'll be using crayons, Lego blocks, and even candy. Can they really build a whole house with these silly tools? Let's find out. The little workers march in proudly, carrying giant crayons over their shoulders, colorful Lego blocks stacked high in wheelbarrows, and shiny candy buckets that sparkle in the sun. The boss of the tiny builders points at a big empty space and shouts, "Let's get to work!" Everyone cheers and rushes into action. First, the tiny builders roll out a huge piece of paper on the ground. They need a plan. One worker draws a roof with a bright red crayon, another colors in windows with blue, and another outlines the door with yellow. The team claps and cheers at their doodle design. But then, a silly little worker sneaks up and tries to eat a lollipop that was supposed to be for the build. The boss shakes his head and wags a finger, making everyone laugh. Now it's time to build. The workers bring in giant Lego blocks and start snapping them together on the ground. They push, pull, and click the pieces into place like a giant puzzle. One worker lifts a block that is way too heavy and falls backward with a squeaky whoops. The others giggle and help lift the block together. With teamwork, the Lego foundation is strong and steady. Up, up, and up go the walls. The tiny builders climb ladders made from pencils, carrying more Lego blocks on their backs. They tap them into place with colorful crayons, using them like hammers. One wall wobbles a little, and everyone gasps, but quickly. The whole team pushes it straight again, chanting, "Teamwork! Teamwork!" The house is already starting to look amazing. Now comes the fun part, choosing candy as glue. The workers melt sticky candy in a pot, then scoop it out with tiny spoons and pour it into the cracks. It drips and stretches like rainbow slime. But it holds everything tight. Jelly beans are squished into little spaces, filling the gaps like cement. A group of gummy bears march proudly, pretending to be helpers as they hold the walls in place. The builders laugh and pat them on the head. The house looks strong, but it needs beams for the roof. Out come the giant crayons. Workers lift them high and place them across the top, forming colorful rainbow beams. They balance carefully as they climb, tying candy ropes around the beams to keep them steady. One tiny builder slips, but luckily, he lands in a big pile of marshmallows. Everyone laughs and tosses more marshmallows on top just to make sure it's extra safe. With the beams in place, the house finally gets its roof. The tiny builders slide huge chocolate bars across the top, carefully fitting them together like giant tiles. On top of the chocolate, they snap Lego shingles, making the roof strong and colorful. Some workers pull the pieces up with candy ropes while others balance on the beams. One little worker slips on melted chocolate, but another catches him just in time. "Careful," the boss shouts. And they all nod seriously, then giggle again. But what's a toy house without decorations? The tiny builders grab their biggest crayons and start coloring the walls. Red, blue, green, yellow. The house becomes a rainbow of colors. They stick lollipops as doorknobs, candy canes around the windows, and line gummy bears at the front like statues. Some workers even draw silly smiley faces on the walls with crayons. The house looks brighter, sweeter, and sillier than any house you've ever seen. Finally, the last touches, the workers sweep away candy crumbs with little brushes. A giant sparkling candy star is lifted to the top of the roof. Slowly, carefully, they tie it in place. Everyone steps back, covered in crayon smudges and sticky candy. But grinning from ear to ear, the boss holds up a giant lollipop magnifying glass and inspects the toy house. He checks the walls, the roof, the decorations, and nods proudly. Perfect! He shouts. The workers cheer loudly, tossing their crayons into the air like fireworks. And there it is, the giant toy house, built by the tiniest workers using crayons, Lego. And candy, it shines with colors, sparkles with sugar, and stands tall thanks to teamwork. The tiny builders clap, cheer, and dance around the house, celebrating their sweetest success yet. The camera zooms out to show the whole house with the workers waving happily. And that's how the tiny builders made the biggest, brightest, most magical toy house ever. Who knows what they'll build next? The tiny builders are back at their construction site for day 2. Yesterday, they built the biggest, brightest toy house ever using crayons, Lego, and even candy. But the boss says the work isn't over yet. Today, they have a brand new mission turning the toy house into a cozy, magical home. The little workers march in again, carrying giant crayons, buckets of jelly beans, rainbow Lego pieces, and of course, more candy. The boss claps his hands and shouts, "Let's get to work, team!" The workers cheer and race toward the toy house, ready for action first. They decide the house needs a big, colorful garden. The builders pull out their crayons and start drawing flowers right onto the ground, huge red roses, yellow sunflowers, and purple tulips. Then they plant giant candy canes in the soil like trees. A few gummy bears climb onto the candy branches and wave happily like tree decorations. Everyone giggles and claps. Next, the team starts working inside the house. They carry in piles of Lego and snap them together into tables, chairs, and even a little sofa. One tiny builder tries to test the sofa, but it falls apart with a plop. The others laugh and quickly fix it, adding candy glue to make it extra strong. Soon, the toy house is filled with colorful Lego furniture, but something's missing light. The tiny builders bring out giant lollipops and stick them on the walls like glowing lamps. They sprinkle sugar crystals on top, and the lamps sparkle like stars. The whole house lights up in rainbow colors. Now it's snack time for the workers. They sit together on the Lego sofa, munching marshmallow sandwiches and drinking hot cocoa from tiny candy cups. One silly worker dips his crayon in the cocoa by mistake and makes a chocolate drawing on the wall. Instead of scolding, the boss laughs and says, "Well, I guess that's art." Everyone claps for the new decoration after their snack. It's time for the big surprise, the roof garden. The tiny builders climb back up with candy ropes, carrying little Lego flower pots. They fill them with jelly beans for soil and stick in gumdrop flowers. When the sun shines, the gumdrops sparkle like gems. The workers cheer. It's the sweetest roof garden anyone has ever seen. But then, trouble, a strong breeze blows across the site, and one of the candy canes wobbles dangerously. The tiny builders rush together, tying it with marshmallow ropes and pushing hard until it stands tall again. Teamwork, teamwork, they shout proudly, saving the day once more. Finally, the finishing touch, the boss holds up a giant rainbow crayon, the biggest one they've ever seen, with everyone's help. They draw a glowing rainbow across the roof of the toy house. The sky fills with colors, and the house looks more magical than ever. The tiny builders stand back, covered in candy sprinkles and crayon marks, but smiling from ear to ear. The boss inspects the garden, the furniture, the lamps, and the rainbow, then nods proudly. "Perfect," he announces. The workers cheer, toss their crayons in the air, and dance around the house in celebration. The camera zooms out, showing the toy house shining with colors, glowing lights, a candy garden, and a sparkling rainbow roof. The workers wave happily, shouting, "We did it!" And that's how the tiny builders turned their giant toy house into the sweetest, coziest home ever. What will they build on day 3? You'll have to wait and see. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching!